This is number 15. She's an oil-powered steam locomotive built in 1913 for the West Side Lumber Company. In 1986, long after the company folded, she was purchased and restored for the Yosemite Mountain Sugar Pine Railroad. The roadbed she's riding on was once owned by the Madera Sugar Pine Company, which operated a large mill nearby. Most of the tracks in the mill are now long gone, and logging in the region only exists on a very small scale. We're in Fish Camp, California, just outside of Yosemite National Park. The area was once a hub of logging activity and now serves as a scenic gateway to Yosemite and the Central Sierras. The Madera Sugar Pine Company also operated an innovative log flume, which quickly brought the milled lumber to the valley floor, where it could be taken to market via the Transcontinental Railroad. The plan was to spend the day in Yosemite, but poor planning on my part and a strict reservation system said not so fast. To save face, we spent the day exploring Highway 49 and entered the park from the north after 4 p.m. when no reservation was needed. The line we're riding on today was dug by hand in the early 1900s, and by the end of the logging era, hundreds of miles of railroad spur lines crisscrossed the region. With a $27 per person admission, this is not exactly a bargain priced attraction. However, after seeing the thoughtful demonstrations made by the passionate staff, I would say that this was actually a great value. Having seen this place many years ago on an episode of California's Gold with Huell Hauser, I was pretty stoked to check this out.
Yeah!
Which used to operate out here, as well as sharing some of the natural history of our region. For your safety and the safety of those around you, we insist that our guests remain seated. As three, keep your hands, arms, legs inside at all times. Well, again, good morning and welcome aboard, everybody. So as your conductor, it's my pleasure to point out all kinds of stuff to you all on our ride today. So if you'll direct your attention over to the left-hand side of the train, you'll see some stuff. If you look over onto the right-hand side, you'll see some stuff as well. But there's some other stuff that I actually want to talk about. That's all this railroad equipment over here on this spur track on your left. You'll see a tank car there, a ballast car, a couple of diesel locomotives. Now, most of that railroad equipment you see there, the two steam locomotives that we operate here, as well as these rail cars that you're riding on now, these were all purchased from the West Side Lumber Company of Tuolumne, California. The West Side Lumber Company was in the logging business using steam locomotives all the way up through the early 1960s. But when the Madera Sugar Pine Lumber Company closed up their shops here in 1931, they scrapped all of their equipment. They scrapped the locomotives, the rail cars, and even the tracks. So in 1965, we started bringing some of this equipment down here from Tuolumne, put it back into operating service, and relayed these tracks on a section of right-of-way that was used for logging between 1908 and 1924. As your seat reaches that power pole, look to your left out across the canyon, and the tallest granite-covered peak that you'll see out there at an elevation of 8,500 feet is Raymond Mountain. At one time, using this very same spur line, they were logging halfway up that mountain. Logging first began out here in the year 1874. That's when the California Lumber Company set up shop. Now, this company changed hands a couple of times and was reorganized into the Madera Sugar Pine Lumber Company in 1899. These logging companies participated in a logging practice known as clear cutting. Clear cutting is the practice of removing every single tree that you can use without reseeding or replanting. That makes this a very young forest. Most of these trees you see now are no older than about 90 years of age and are the result of the natural reseeding of the very few trees that were left standing after logging. In 2017, the railroad fire, named for its proximity to our railroad, started on the other side of Highway 41 and scorched down this section of the canyon. Now, thanks to the efforts of U.S. Forest Service firefighters and CAL FIRE firefighters, we only suffered very minimal equipment losses because they set up a defensive command post at the station. But as you can see, that allowed for a lot of this timber to be burned out here. out this section of railroad right-of-way just using hand tools, just picks and shovels. Now to move that dirt, they had a little bit of help from teams of horses and mules with wagons to kind of just pick it up and haul it out, but most of this dirt was hauled out by hand via wheelbarrow. Well, in addition to the fire we had out here in 2017, in January of just last year, this region suffered a 1 in 20-year mono wind event. Now, we have these windstorms every now and again, and they can be damaging storms, but this one, in 2021, this storm was nasty. A lot of these trees have been uprooted, while others have just snapped clean in half, just like the mast of a sailing ship in a hurricane. Now, don't worry though, we're not going to be looking at storm and fire damage our whole way down to Lewis Creek. And on that horrible, depressing note, that's the last depressing thing I'm going to talk about. We're going to go back to history. So, the loggers out here were mainly after 2 tall pine trees. Those are the ponderosas and the sugar pines. That's Mill Canyon Road. It's the United States Forest Service access road, but it was not always so. In fact, Mill Canyon Road is the last railroad grade that was used by the Madera Sugar Pine Company to haul logs by rail all the way from Chowchilla Mountain to the mill site located at the bottom of the canyon here. In fact, this is what's happened with most of the abandoned logging lines of the Sierra, since they now service these U.S. Forest Service access roads. With a top speed of little more than 20 miles per hour, with zero locomotives, wagon speed, they make up for with incredible pulling power despite the steep grade. They weren't meant to go anywhere fast. They were meant to haul logs, heavy loads up these mountain grades, and we are proud to demonstrate what engine number 15 was built to do for you now. At that time, I advise you either to remain on board, or you can feel free to disembark and explore this area for us. We do have a couple of picnic tables and restrooms available for you if you need them. A quick reminder though, we are in the Sierra National Forest, and there is absolutely no smoking. And any pine cones, walking sticks, rocks, baby raccoons, or bear cubs you find need to be left behind on the forest floor, not taken as a souvenir. Please remain seated until the engine has come to a complete stop and the engineer has tuned it. His whistle, one time. This is going to be about a 10 to 15 minute stopover, folks. We'll ring the bell and call all aboard again at about 11:36 for our return trip at 11:40. If this is your first visit to the Sierra, we are so happy to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. In the year 1939, the American Great Depression was in full swing, and seeing no improvement on the horizon for the market for lumber, the Madera Sugar Pine Lumber Company decided that it was time to close their doors. You can only imagine just how loud that lonesome whistle was in 1931 as it echoed through the canyon out here, especially when you consider that there wasn't a tree standing within 30,000 acres of it. So by that time the last load was completed, the mill operators untied the whistle, and the show was over. So too was that way of life, at least in this area.
You know, it's probably a horrible suggestion to say, hey, just go out into the world without any planning. With these summertime road trips, you never know what you're going to encounter. I've had snow in June, fires year-round, and all kinds of other things that will throw your plans into a tizzy. Without a reservation, we had about 4 hours to kill, which we used to travel up Highway 49 and enter the park through the northern entrance, which is less crowded, and going against the grain of traffic. There's currently 2 trains that depart at 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. sharp. However, I do recommend the early train because you still have the rest of your day, and you also get to get done before the oppressive foothill heat sets in. Be sure to get here early and check out all of the really cool historical relics and hear all of the wonderful history told by these passionate employees. I hope you enjoyed the ride, and if you find yourself in the area, I hope you enjoy your trip.